Hey, ladies.
All right.
I'm calling from a dog park in Seacliff, New York. It's Lou DiBella.
What's going on, Lou DiBella?
I don't know, man. I woke up this morning at 6 minutes. The world is a messed up place. Let me tell you.
It is.
You know, it's like it's the. On one hand, it's a nice distraction to talk boxing. On the other hand, it's like hard to watch television or read a newspaper anymore.
It's painful. Just switching on into life after you have the grace of opening your eyes in the morning. You never know what you're going to see out there today. Unfortunately, it is a mass shooting in Los Angeles, and our prayers go out to the families of those who've been affected and injured and killed in that attack. Lou, I'm glad we have you on this. We have a lot to go on. You know, you're never far removed from what's going on, like at the top of the headlines of boxing. And this time, again, Deontay Wilder, another opponent, tests positive for a drug test. Is someone sneaking out and finding Deontay's opponents once they become announced, and are they slipping stuff in their food just to derail the fight?
I don't know, but I feel really bad for Deontay. I mean, like, you know, I think he's like sort of, you know, this is sort of pushing him to the edge. He's sort of wondering, what did I do, you know? You know, meanwhile, like, you know, we didn't have, people are talking about, like, whether the fight's going to happen. You know, we're waiting to see, you know, I guess there's going to be some follow-up with Ortiz over maybe a hair test could possibly be done on steroids, you know, whether or not they're in his system. You know, it appears that he may have been prescribed these drugs for some kind of a high blood pressure problem, which probably, by the way, will raise some questions with the New York Commission about him getting checked out from a health standpoint, if that's the issue. You know, right now, even if the hair sample was negative, it's not Deontay's decision or mine as to whether the fight would even be allowed to occur. So at the moment, we're sort of in a holding pattern, but we got to decide probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. There's going to be a show November 4th. He's the heavyweight champion. He sat too long, way too long, not for any fault of his or mine or anybody else's. He didn't want to fight Severn. It took a long time to work out a step aside, and this deal with Ortiz, which is one of the things that makes it disheartening that this happened. And, you know, I'm not sitting here screaming, cheater, 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 though at the very least there was some, like, real ignorance or a real, like, a real bad mistake in not disclosing the use of these, of these medications that are prohibited under VADA. So, you know, the whole thing, there's not much to say. You know, it's like, I've been through this 3 times in like a year and a half. I mean, it's sort of crazy.
Lou, how do you keep Deontay Wilder from kind of slipping into a depression? When we've interviewed him before, he's mentioned that when fights are falling out, it's been really emotionally, it took its toll on him. How do you keep him engaged and inspired when things continue to happen to him?
No, you just try to be a friend. You know, you pick up the phone and you call, say you can only do the best you can. You can't control other people, and you're not in control of blood tests, and, you know, just trust in trust in some higher power, and trust in the fact that everything will work out for the best. You're a clean guy and you're doing the right things. Look, part of what makes this particular thing so disheartening, and the fact that we're sitting here with all this uncertainty, is that here's a guy that was going to go to Russia to fight Povetkin, who everyone thought was the boogeyman. Now, Povetkin, I will say, is a miserable, cheating piece of shit. And like, there's no question about that. His whole, I mean, he's earned the nickname Povetkin, and you know, his career has been marked by cheating. And you know, we won a legal case that allows me to say that. But you know, after that fight, like, it was weird. He got criticism for not fighting a guy who was filthy in the guy's backyard when you know, a ruling was made by other people, because the guy was, like, loaded up on some banned substance. And Deontay's taken a lot of heat for stuff that really is not, you know, in his control. So he's the one said, I don't care about the money. Like, this is no bull. I mean, we were paying you big money to Severn to fight somebody else, that he would step aside so that Deontay, could fight Luis Ortiz. And Ortiz is a very tough fight. He's a really, really good fighter. One of the greatest amateur heavyweights in history, and an undefeated left-handed heavyweight with power that nobody wants to go near. But the whole reason he wanted to fight was to prove he was legit, the best heavyweight in the world. He wanted to quiet the critics and the haters. And now, here this has occurred. And even if this wasn't cheating, even if this was a real bad mistake and not disclosing information, he's being victimized once again. And people should really have some empathy and understand, hey, this is a proud champion, and a lot of the stuff that's gone on in his career, I mean, the majority of the stuff that people are criticizing isn't in his control. And with all due respect to AJ, Anthony Joshua, a 43-year-old Klitschko wasn't exactly like King Kong. And not to use a double entendre or a double meaning there. I mean, and by the way, if Deontay ever had a chance to get in the ring with Anthony, and he hurt Anthony the way Klitschko did, and I don't think Klitschko at that stage of his career was a particularly dangerous puncher and finisher. Deontay certainly would have finished that fight, I think. And look, Deontay could have just taken a mandatory right now and waited out the eventual fight with Anthony Joshua. Instead, he reached for a fight that was the hardest fight for him that you could make in the world that was available to him, and here we are in this situation again. So, I wish boxing fans would be a little bit more understanding toward a guy that has a lot of reasons to be upset with him.
Absolutely. So, Lou, where do we go?
We're waiting for the BC. Ortiz's people have submitted a bunch of information. We're going to look into whether there's anything that can be done to preserve the fight, and then sometime in the next probably 48 hours we'll announce. There's going to be a show November 4th at Barclays Center. There's an unbelievable undercard. Porter and Granado should be an all-action fight. Deontay's going to defend his title on that card. We'll figure out in the next 48 hours exactly. We sort of have to wait some things out here because we're not also. Here's another thing people don't understand. I'm getting all these stupid messages sent to me about it's just fight the guy. Well, this isn't a decision. I didn't send. We didn't send ourselves a letter from Vada saying he failed the clean boxing program and he tested positive. So it's really not it's not our decision to be made here alone. There are other decision makers like the State Athletic Commission, like the WBC, and we're waiting for, I guess, what you would call quote unquote due process. Ortiz also has a chance to test the B sample, but the B sample is probably irrelevant here because the one thing he's done is he said, I did take these substances, but I took them prescribed by a doctor for high blood pressure. Now it raises the question when you filled out forms, all these time, why wouldn't you just put it on the form? Why wouldn't you disclose it? And I guess unfortunately for him, these substances are on the ban list because they can also be used to mask steroid use. And I'm not saying that that's how he was using them this time, but like I said, we didn't send ourselves a letter.
Well, let's turn and look at some of the positives going on. You have the big show coming up on October 14th, the triple header with RLJ, Hurt versus Charlo versus Lubin happening there in Brooklyn. What is the response?
That's a terrific action card from top to bottom. It actually has a purpose. There are three, competitive, interesting fights on paper. Personally, I think the Charlo Lubin fight has fight of the year potential on it. I mean, I think that could be just an explosive fight, and it's between two undefeated, young studs, and I'm really, really super looking forward to that fight. But the other two fights, Gausha, undefeated Olympian, that's a huge test, getting in there with Lara, getting a shot at the belt, and Austin Trout's the consummate pro, Jarrett Hurd has really impressed me in the last couple of years. He's a string of really good wins, and Austin Trout should give him a handful. So I think that's a great show, and that's not a cost-prohibitive show for fans. It's one where the ticket prices are really sort of like affordable and reasonable. You can get great seats, without breaking the bank, for around the cost you would pay to order a pay-per-view. So like if anybody's in the vicinity or the tri-state area, or anyone wants to travel to the Barclays Center on the 14th, I mean, and the undercard's going to be terrific. You have Tony Harrison in a competitive fight coming back on the undercard. Cindy Serrano, one of the two champions, Serrano sisters, will be on the card. The 14th is a great show. So like that's it's just really, really, really good boxing. And I hope people come out and check it out. Despite a lot of the bad news that comes out and bad judging and fights that are put in jeopardy or whatever, it's still been a pretty good run for competitive boxing, over this last 12 months. And on the 14th, that run's going to continue, and I'd like to see as many fans as possible at the Barclays Center on October 14th. They get their tickets through Ticketmaster or the Barclays Center box office, etc.
Yeah, it looks like boxing is going to take the swing back to the East Coast to close out the year strong. So a lot of good action, starting off with the Lara Hurd Charlo card on October 14th. So, Lou, we thank you for calling in this morning. We're looking forward to that card. Keep us updated on Twitter with what's happening with Wilder and what's going to happen with him. I'm sure we'll see the stories coming out from various sources in the media, but we just hope to see him back in the ring the sooner than the later.
And good job, ladies, with this show. I'm actually a loyal listener, so good job.
Thanks, Lou. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.